Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wisconsin USDA Foods Networking and Training event. Today's focus will be on the USDA Foods Complaints, Holds, and Recall process, along with the standing policy and program updates. My name is Jessica Oley, and I will be moderating this call in collaboration with our USDA Foods and Procurement team. If you're joining today through the computer, use the live event Q&A chat box located to the right of your screen to ask a question. If you're joining over the phone, use the *6 to unmute yourself and ask a question. As a reminder, this is a recorded training, and we will get you some details on how to access that training in a few days, possibly next week. We used to be able to just have the join link turned into the recording link. That's not available to us anymore. So please reach out to us if you would like the recording after the training. Now I'm going to pass the mic to Randy to start us out.
Hello again, and welcome to the USDA Networking and Training meeting. Today we're going to discuss the following topics: policy and program updates, timeline reminders, and some tips for getting a jump start on the upcoming new year. Review resources for monitoring and managing orders, inventory, and fees for school year 24-25. And we're going to dive into how you can prepare in the fall for the school year 25-26 annual order survey, which will happen in February 2025. We will have time for questions and discussions at the end of the training, but please feel free throughout this training to use that chat box at any time to ask a question. Now we're going to move on to policy updates. And we have no policy updates today, so we're going to move directly on to direct delivery program updates with Laura.
Great. Thanks, Randy, and good afternoon, everyone. The November orders for USDA direct delivery brown box and state process C code products were run in the Wisconsin USDA Foods ordering system on October 15th, and you can log in and check your November orders. When you log in to view your orders, remember to click on the cancellations, delays, and updates document that DPI posts each month on the welcome page, and this list is updated at least monthly. On October 18th, for SFAs that received delivery from Midwest Perishable, we emailed a reminder about what the expectations and responsibilities are before, during, and after delivery, and a reminder on how to report delivery discrepancies to DPI if they occur. Thinking ahead to deliveries for next school year 25-26, if your SFA plans to receive delivery of direct delivery and state processing products from a commercial distributor, we've updated and posted the resource materials about how to procure and contract with a commercial distributor. On November 4th, we emailed the SFA's primary contacts with links to these resources, including procurement guidance, frequently asked questions, a procurement timeline, and links to the contract templates. Next, Dino will talk about USDA DoD Fresh Produce Program.
Good afternoon, this is Dino, and just have a couple of short reminders for our DoD participants regarding receiving delivery. Please make sure that all products listed on the delivery receipt are accounted for. In the event of a shortage, please inform the driver immediately to confirm the issue on the delivery notice. For quality issues, schools have the option to reject the product. Once you have noted the issue, contact the vendor, AJ Produce, within 24 hours to confirm that the driver has reported the issue. Once confirmed, edit your receipt and note the discrepancy in favors within 2 days after delivery. And in the event of a dispute over delivery, please contact myself, Dino Ante, at my email is antonio.ante@dpi.wi.gov, or my number is 608-267-4599. We're still struggling with receipting and favors, and just want to remind everybody that you have to receipt your orders within 5 business days. Keep in mind that the vendor cannot be paid until your orders are receipted for the produce you've already received. When there are past due receipts, no orders can be placed by or on behalf of the customer. The order block is removed after these receipts are entered. Please process your receipt as soon as possible. Next up, Jessica will discuss the state processing product, the C code updates.
Thanks, Dino. So for our state process program, or what we call C codes, the request for bid process is underway pending some SFA taste test results. Again, I want to thank these SFAs for agreeing to do those taste tests, and we'll see what the results show. We hope to have a prime vendor awarded by the end of December to carry a new product, Asian chicken, and then we're rebidding macaroni and cheese quesadillas. This contract's going to initiate the transition of state processed products from direct to processor procurement to an indirect through a prime vendor. The products are going to be listed in the February 2025 annual survey for school year 25-26 ordering and delivery, in addition to all of our other state processed products. We hope to transition to a prime vendor contract over a 5-year duration for all of our products, and there's not going to be any change for how SFAs order state processed products. That's probably the biggest takeaway for you, is there's no change for how you on your end order your state processed products. The benefits of modifying the procurement process are that it improves our ability to effectively manage the contracts, allows flexibility with product lists we can offer SFAs, and gives our state a backup warehouse and distribution option for our direct delivery USDA foods and state processed products. Our focus remains on offering products that do not overlap with the direct delivery brown box options and maintaining a processing program option for smaller SFAs that cannot manage a direct diversion program themselves. Next, DPI was recently notified by JTM that they will no longer produce turkey breakfast sausage patties. Orders will fill for the rest of school year 24-25, or that's what they assured us, but we can't renew this contract. So you will not see the turkey breakfast sausage patties on the February annual order. Look for a form survey in the early winter or spring, though, to gather some feedback from our state processing SFAs on which products they would like to replace this option, if any, now that we have hopefully have a new product, Asian chicken. And finally, DPI is beginning the contract renewal process with hopes to have all contracts signed by mid to end January in preparation for the annual USDA Foods order in February. That completes our state process product updates. I'm going to pass the mic to Lyra for a few direct diversion updates.
All right, thank you, Jess. So direct diversion. So for school year 24-25, we have a total of 216 SFAs that are participating in direct diversion or cheese rebate programs with over 11 million pounds of USDA foods getting diverted to approved processors. So this is a great reminder to use your diverted pounds in the school year in which they are allocated, because this will help meet the USDA maximum 6-month inventory regulation. And just for everyone to be aware, in direct diversion, USDA continues to monitor pounds at processors and will reach out to the states with high balances, requesting transfer of pounds to other states who can use the pounds. Please continue to monitor your pounds in K-12 or processor link. You do not want to order more than what you have, especially this year, as most of our state accounts are low in pound balances already. If your SFA needs more pounds, and if pounds are available in your state account, start communicating with your broker or your prime vendor so that they can check if you are able to access more pounds from the state account. Another good reminder, if you are under a prep joint agency, allocated pounds are not combined under the prep agency, so make sure you check your accounts and ensure that those pounds are being drawn down. And regarding transfer request automation update, we have shared this with you in the past that we are doing this project or update within our Wisconsin online ordering system. We are now in the final testing phase with processors, brokers, and SFAs. So the processors testing went great, and we are now starting to test the transfer functionality. We have 3 SFA volunteers, and thank you to those who volunteered for their assistance, their time. Once testing is done, We will determine a time to roll this live to all SFAs who are mainly in direct diversion, and we will be sending communication with instructions. And as always, we are always available to assist you if you have any questions. And here's my few reminders as we start prepping for this next school year. So fall is here, and that means procurement planning starts soon. The list of approved processors is now available in our webpage, and we have 2 new vendors for next school year. So for 25-26, we have another cheese vendor and 1 fish vendor that's added to the list. Make sure to check the list as soon as you are able to help you figure out what products and to which processor to divert your pounds to. Also, it's important to attend trainings and our mini food shows that you are aware of. Communicate with your processors or brokers, and it is also important to communicate with your commercial distributor. You can ask for samples of products that you are interested in diverting pounds to. Also, ensure that your contract's in place for next school year before your annual order begins. And that is all I have for direct diversion. Next up, I believe we're going to review our timeline reminders.
Thanks, Lyra. So let's go over the calendar timeline covering key November through January tasks. You can also locate the timeline section of our Wisconsin USDA Foods webpage for more information on monthly and annual tasks. In November, SFAs interested in direct diversion should review the approved direct diversion and cheese rebate processors list for school year 25-26, in addition to the direct diversion webpage resources. One resource that I want to direct you to is called a RISE training. It's all the way at the bottom of the direct diversion webpage. It's direct diversion basics. So if you're at all interested in learning about what direct diversion is, I would encourage you to go through that training, or if you need a refresh. SFAs interested in using direct diversion or the cheese rebate will need the approved processor list to assist them with the 25-26 procurement solicitation or renewal process. This is all what Lyra just told you. Also in November, for SFAs interested in using commercial delivery for their USDA food direct delivery and C codes, you want to review the commercial distribution webpage. And then December, to complement your direct diversion planning, register for the Fall SNA Conference, which is going to be held December 10th and 11th. Any SFAs that are interested in the direct diversion program, you're new to the program, or those who are well-versed, and you're all encouraged to attend the conference. This year, Wisconsin DPI is going to serve as a panelist with our other industry partners. And lastly, in January, look for a Google preference survey sent to you from Dino for direct delivery products. The survey results will be discussed in the January 22nd USDA Foods Networking and Training event, so the next event, one of these, to prepare for the annual USDA Foods order in mid-February. Next up, Laura is going to transition us to the main training session today.
Great, thanks, Jess. Welcome to the second half of our USDA Foods training. We'll be talking about USDA Foods complaints, holds, and recalls. So let's take a look at the agenda. Great. During the training, we're going to cover the following areas. You're going to learn how to submit complaints to DPI if you find food safety or quality issues for USDA food products. Understand why filing a timely complaint is important. And we'll discuss the roles and responsibilities of SFAs, Wisconsin DPI, USDA, and manufacturers. Next, handing it back to Jess, and she's going to walk us through some USDA Foods complaints.
Thanks, Laura. So from time to time, you may find an issue with USDA Foods product. Do we want you to report it? Yes, we absolutely do. Your complaints will ultimately improve the quality of USDA Foods program and the foods you serve. So let's look at some examples of food complaints. There's a few different buckets. There could be a quality issue such as taste, texture, color, or odor. There could be a problem with the consistency of the shape and the size. There could be a safety issue, or you might find a foreign object like bone in fish, for example, stems, or a pit that's in some type of fruit, metal, plastic, glass, even possibly insects. From time to time, you may find there's a packaging issue like a dented or rusted can, leaking product, or a bag with tears that has some exposed food. And lastly, we want you to submit a complaint if there's a delivery issue, such as a shortage, damage, sign of thawing and refreezing, cleanliness of the delivery truck, and even the driver's performance. If there is one takeaway from this whole training, we want to pause here and read this headline. Take photos. It's such a great way to document your complaint. We don't want you to just take one photo, take as many photos as will show what the issue is. Also, information in the pictures is going to help DPI track down the source of the issue. And be sure to take photos before you start fixing the issue. Take photos before you start throwing out packaging. Or if it's easier than taking a lot of photos, take a video. Let's look through some examples. These are photos that DPI has received in the past, along with written complaints. So on this slide, it's a great photo of a packaging issue. It clearly shows the lid is loose on the frozen cup and the product is exposed and unusable. If you have a large number of affected product like this, take a picture, then take a picture of the inside of the case with other unusable product showing the scope of the issue. Your photo should show that you didn't just have one unusable cup, you received delivery of many unusable cups. It is tempting to immediately toss the whole case, but please don't do this. Later in this training, we'll talk about procedures for disposing of product. So on this slide, it's a photo of frozen green beans that is a food quality complaint. Last year, a large SFA emailed us about receiving many cases of green beans with what looked to be like some rotting at the crop phase. DPI reached out to other schools that received green beans that month to find out if they had the same finding. Some SFAs were contacted. Some SFAs that we contacted did submit a complaint with photos that look similar to this one. Some reported no issues, and others were able to pick through a few handfuls that were bad, and they were able to use the rest of the case. The photo on the right shows a foreign object found in a can. In this case, an insect, and the photo on the left shows the label on the case. The photo also gives a great indication of how big the foreign object is. When documenting a foreign object, make sure there is something else in the photo, like a thumb, a ruler, a pencil, and in this case, a diced peach to show the size of the object. Whenever possible in your photos, include as much of the packaging information as you have. This is really important so DPI and USDA can track down the vendor name, the lot code, and the shipment date. It's important to take photos of the case packaging whenever you can. Sometimes the case packaging doesn't seem to have much on it, like on the last photo of mixed fruit, or sometimes it has a lot of information on it, like this photo on the slide. Any information you can give us from the cases like vendor name, product descriptions, lot codes, manufactured and delivery dates, that's going to help us track down the source of the issue and give us more information to report back to USDA. There can be a lot of numbers on the cases, so sometimes it's just easier to take a few pictures of the cases from different angles. This photo shows a pretty extreme delivery problem. In this case, the food isn't compromised, surprisingly, and it isn't a food quality issue, but these crust cases are a delivery issue and still worthy of a complaint.
Thank you, Jess. And we're going to talk about taking pictures. So let's get specific. What should my picture or video capture? Take photos of affected fruit or affected products. Try to show the scope of the issue. Take photos of the foreign object. Try to show the size compared to some other maybe familiar object like a thumb or a pencil or a ruler. Take photos of product packaging, especially showing product or lot codes and dates. Take a few photos of the outside of the case, showing the label, the vendor name, lot codes, product codes, and manufacturing label. In So first things first. So complaints can be discovered at any time during delivery, prep, and service. They may be reported by your warehouse staff, your kitchen staff, teachers, or students. So first things first, an issue has come to your attention. How do you assess this issue? Assess the emergency level. Do you need to stop students from consuming the food served? Or perhaps assess the scope. Do you need to open other cases of the same product? Consider timeliness. Do you need to immediately segregate the affected products? Any unusable or affected products should be stored and clearly labeled. Do not use, do not discard. Also important, if a foreign object is found, be sure to keep the object. Sometimes manufacturers will want to come and get the object for further inspection. Now that you have time, now is the time to follow your standard operating procedures or SOPs. We've talked about different types of complaints like product quality, safety, and packaging, and it is up to you to localize your procedures to be specific to this issue and complaint. If you need any assistance, drafting these procedures, we suggest reaching out to other SFAs and your local sanitarian. Some basic procedures to include in your SOPs. You might need to be informed of who needs to be informed of the food issue? When is it appropriate to notify administration and households? Who gathers the information and documentation? How is the information gathered? Once collected, who keeps the documentation and who submits the complaint? You know not to dispose of the product, but do you have procedures on how to place a hold on the product that is affected?
You might be saying to yourself, food issues are to be expected from time to time, and I have a lot to do. So is it worth my time to submit a complaint? We are going to tell you why you should complain. First, if it is a safety issue, your complaint might be the first warning resulting in an important product hold or recall. Your complaints are tracked. DPI and USDA look for multiple complaints and patterns about the same issue, and multiple issues about the same vendor may impact if the vendor receives another USDA product award. Reporting issues may change the way USDA writes their product specification when they go out to bid to improve products. Communicating issues to DPI and USDA will improve the products and programs that USDA offers. And lastly, we hope that your complaints are one and done and that your complaint is an isolated case. But from time to time, your SFA is not the only SFA seeing the same issue. And if you don't let DPI and USDA know about the issues you are encountering, you can be sure that the issue will not be addressed. Gathering documentation. You probably don't have to submit complaints very often. So where do you go to get instructions on how to submit complaints? You're going to go to the Wisconsin USDA Foods Program webpage and click the product complaint form on the left navigation bar. You do not have to use this form to submit a complaint to DPI, but it is highly recommended to use this form to guide you since it does ask for a lot of the information that DPI, USDA, commercial distributors, and a manufacturer will need to follow up on the issue. The link on the left navigation bar opens right up to the DPI USDA Foods Program complaint form. Instruction 1. Verify if the product's origin is the USDA Foods Program or if it is a commercial product. You may know this answer, You might have the information in your records, or you might need to contact your commercial distributor or the manufacturer to ask if the product is a USDA Foods product. Instruction 2. If it is a USDA Foods product, submit your complaint and supporting photos promptly to DPI. For these complaints, the term USDA Foods products includes your direct delivery and Wisconsin state processed products. If the product is DoD fresh produce, direct diversion, or commercial, you can use this form to help you gather the information, but those product complaints do not get submitted to DPI. We will talk about where to submit those complaints in a few slides. If you do submit a complaint for DoD or direct diversion to DPI, we will help you get those complaints correctly submitted. This slide shows a screenshot of the USDA Foods complaint section of the DPI USDA Foods complaint form. Notice number 6 is asking you how you received the product, by state delivery from MPI or your commercial distributor. And number 7 asks whether you contacted your distributor to confirm if it is a USDA Foods product. Here is a sample of a complete complaint about the frozen green beans we saw a picture of earlier. This was confirmed to be green beans from a USDA Foods vendor. The SFA noted this was a quality issue when it was discovered. They included the number of cases involved in the complaint, and they also submitted 4 photos, 3 different photos of cases of green beans to show the scope of the issue, and 1 of the outside of the case showing all of the labeling. Once you've completed your form, next you will email the form to DPI per the instructions on the complaint form, being sure to attach your photos and any other documentation you may have. Hold and segregate the product, wait for instructions from DPI, and keep records for record retention. We do understand that there are some situations where you can't just keep the product. We've seen complaints of exploded cans that need to be cleaned up and discarded. It is very important that before you clean up the mess and discard, be sure to take pictures, document the entire issue, how many products or cases were affected, and include as much labeling and detail as possible. Once DPI has the complaint, what does DPI do with it? For direct delivery products, DPI will acknowledge receipt of the issue, typically by emailing you back, and we will assess if DPI needs further information from you about the product and issue. Other research we do includes confirming that the product actually is a USDA Foods product. We check order history and look up which warehouse your SFA receives products out of and who your distributor is using the documentation submitted by the SFA. We will check the warehouse BOLs to match the exact incoming shipment for when the warehouse received the product. And then DPI will submit a complaint to the USDA. We enter and upload all of the information you've sent to DPI and what we were able to figure out in our research by including information from the BOL, lot code, shipment date, pictures, etc. DPI's complaint to USDA includes whether we are submitting a food safety issue, whether the SFA requested reimbursement or replacement of product, and if this issue is submitted for tracking and trending purposes only. DPI will notify the SFA when the complaint is submitted to USDA and will keep you posted on any developments. The USDA or vendor may contact you directly for more information. This is very rare. They usually ask DPI their questions instead of the SFA, but it's something to be aware of. Next up, Laura will talk to you about the USDA action.
Great. So now that USDA has received DPI's complaint, USDA will assess their complaint, do their own research, and then report the issue to AMS, the Agricultural Marketing Service, who's the contractor manager, and AMS will work with the manufacturer. From time to time, the SFA may be asked questions for more documentation, and this is when it's useful to have followed those best practices to have held the product whenever it's possible to do so. Again, USDA monitors complaints to see if there have been other similar complaints, and this is when your complaint may lead to a food hold or recall. Complaints to USDA may affect future awards to the manufacturer, or USDA may rewrite some of the product specifications to ensure issues like the one you reported do not happen again. So we've talked about the direct delivery brown box. Let's take a look at how DPI handles a complaint when it's a state processing C code product. If a complaint is submitted about state processing products, DPI's actions are almost the same as for a direct delivery product, except since the contract for these products are not managed by AMS, they are managed by DPI. DPI doesn't submit the complaint to USDA, we submit the complaint directly to the manufacturer. All right, so the manufacturer may receive complaints from DPI, the USDA, and AMS, commercial distributors, or directly from an SFA. And the actions when a manufacturer receives the complaint are looking pretty familiar. For the first step, the manufacturer will assess the scope and do their own research into the issue. So we've seen different manufacturers' responses, they differ widely. We've seen manufacturers do an investigation and issue a report with findings. We've seen manufacturers send folks out to the SFA to pick up the product from the SFA. Some manufacturers will refund or replace the product. And our team has never experienced a complaint sent from DPI that led to a manufacturer's recall, but it is possible. Okay, so DPI will notify the SFA about USDA's or the manufacturer's response or resolution. And although we've seen credits, product replaced, or seen manufacturers issue a report, these resolutions are not usual. So please know that the most common resolution we see is that USDA acknowledges the issue and they report that currently the issue is found to be an isolated occurrence. And DPI will let you know when you can dispose of the held product, and when necessary, will include disposal instructions so that the product is made unconsumable. And from time to time, we'll even ask you to show us photo documentation of the disposed product. And although you might not receive immediate reimbursement or receive replacement, it is important for USDA and manufacturers to be aware when problems occur. The more they know, the better they can respond to keep food safe and maintain or improve the quality of their products. Next, let's talk just a little bit about DoD, and we'll talk about direct diversion complaints. So for those of you receiving USDA DoD fresh produce, it's important to review your product before the driver leaves and report any complaints to the driver immediately. So be sure to review the DPI DoD webpage so you know what to do if there is a product issue. These complaints do not get managed by DPI, but if you have questions, please contact us. And for direct diversion, with direct diversion, you are the contract manager. So if your contract is with a commercial distributor, you submit your complaints to the commercial distributor. And if you contract directly with the product manufacturer, you submit your complaints to the manufacturer. And unlike direct delivery, you may receive a credit for the loss of bulk pounds and or handling fees for the lost product. Make sure to ask. This is between you and your vendor. DPI will not credit your pounds or fees. And if you have questions about how to submit a complaint about a direct diversion product, call either the commercial distributor or the manufacturer. And if you still have questions, give our team a call and we'll be glad to help you. Next, Dino is going to talk about what to expect when you receive notice of a food recall.
Hello again. A food hold or recall is almost always a voluntary action by a manufacturer or distributor to protect the public from products that may cause health problems or a safety issue. Since every food hold or recall is different, we are not going to specific instructions or procedures. However, we will go over general steps that occur and the alert systems that we use to notify school food authorities or SFAs. In the event of a USD food safety related event, including food recalls, it is important for the Wisconsin USDA Foods team to provide critical information to alert school food authorities or SFAs participating in the Wisconsin USDA Foods program. In cooperation with SFAs, DPI tests and evaluates a notification system called the State Emergency Notification Systems, or SENS, from Send Word Now, which is a third-party company contracted with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, or USDA. A sense alert is sent to the primary and backup food safety contact listed in the USDA Foods ordering system on the application tab of your ordering system account. These sense alerts are sent by email and phone call. It is important to keep the email address and phone number updated in your USDA Foods ordering system account. You should have a contact that has access to email and phone so you can be reached within a very short time during a food hold or recall emergency notification. Please note that the information you provide in your ordering account is what we will extract during an emergency, and we do not have another list or a separate list or database of food safety contacts. So now let's discuss a few more details on what you will see when using the SENSE system. When receiving an incoming email or phone call, the message will indicate the nature of the emergency, but it will not have a lot of detail in it. Most alerts start with a hold. The email will go to primary and backup food safety contacts, as indicated on the previous slide. Note that the sender email address you will receive will have a domain sendwordnow.com instead of dpi.wi.gov. And check with your IT department that this domain sendword.com or a corresponding IP address is acceptable and is not sent directly to a spam or junk folder. We have a resource on our webpage that will walk you through on how to whitelist the email to make the domain acceptable to your email system. Please share this resource with your IT staff. And then the receiver must read instructions in the alert and respond accordingly. Your response will notify DPI that you've received the notification. To respond to the email notification, simply click on your email reply button and type in the number 1. It's almost always 1. We use 1 or 2 or whatever, but we usually use the number 1. And click on the send button. Only enter the corresponding number in the body of your reply email for the appropriate predefined response. If replying by phone, listen to the entire phone message. Do not hang up during a pause. Now, this phone message is a mechanical voice. Listen to the entire list of possible responses on the phone and select a response on the keypad. More than likely, it will ask you to reply by pressing 1 on the keypad. And DPI will use your response to verify that all agencies have received a notification and are aware of the issue. After the initial sense alert goes out by phone and email, DPI will switch to standard email notification from the DPI USDA Foods team inbox. And that's the DPI USDA Foods at dpi.w.gov. Sorry about that. To share further details. Details, for example, will We'll provide details of the affected labels, UPC code, pictures, lot codes, manufacturer dates, just to name a few, and any other development of the food safety issue. On the screen is an example Sense Alert test email. Note that the from address will have the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction, but the domain is sendword.com instead of dpi.wi.gov. Read the full email message and make sure to reply by typing 1 and hit the send button. It is important to only type the number 1 without any additional spaces, numbers, or other characters ahead of the number 1. This is because the response system is automated, and when it receives your reply, it will validate 1, which means that you have received the emergency notification. To evaluate the Send system preparedness, DPI USDA Foods team will conduct testing of the Send system annually to ensure it is working and SFAs are familiar with the response system and all contacts are updated. So next, let's briefly look at the test voicemail transcription. On this slide is an example of the Sense Alert SFAs will receive by voicemail transcription. This communication will come through as a phone call and to listen to rather than by email. The SFAs still needs to respond by pressing 1 on the keypad. Now that we know how SFAs are made aware of the USDA food specific alerts, let's briefly discuss resources to receive notifications for non-USDA foods products. So by now you may be asking yourself, I hear about food recalls all the time and I'm a food safety contact, so why don't I get those notifications from Sense all the time? Well, most recalls that you hear about in the news are not about USDA foods. They are commercial food recalls. And to receive notifications about non-USDA foods product recalls and safety events, we recommend that SFAs sign up at these two websites on the slide, foodsafety.gov and recalls.gov. Next, Lyra will talk about the next steps during a food safety emergency.
All right, thank you, Dino. And let me go to the next slide. All right, so going back to USDA Foods product recall or food safety event, the purpose of the Sense notification is to make sure to stop any potential food safety harm. DPI will use Sense for USDA Foods direct delivery and state processing products. The Sense will not have a lot of detail or instructions, but it will give you enough information so that you can put a hold from using any more product. When you receive the notification, step one is to hold whatever product is described in the Sense. This means segregate the product, do not use, and do not discard. Again, do not discard any product. As soon as Sense goes out, DPI will be working with the USDA to get enough information to email more instructions. Usually, the information will narrow down the affected product. This might be vendor names, lot codes, dates of manufacturing, or other product identifiers. And after you receive the additional information, you'll be able to separate the product that continues to be on hold from the product that is safe to hold from and product that is safe to start using again. For example, once the manufacturer name and lot codes are identified, you may be able to release unaffected product back to inventory. Do not dispose of any product at this step either. Do not dispose until you are given approval by DPI to do so. If you are not sure, email us to check. And after we have the product narrowed down, DPI will be collecting data regarding amounts and locations of affected product. You might have affected product and DPI will be locating product at the state contracted warehouses, commercial distributors, and product en route. This is when DPI start asking you for documentation. Documentation will probably be collected by email, forms, and photos. And on this slide is a list of key resources we referenced throughout the training. We will drop the hyperlinks in the chat. I think Jess will be doing that shortly for your access. You can also find the first 4 links on the USDA Foods webpage. The last 2 resources are USDA resources that provide additional details on responding to food recalls with a focus on school meal programs. You may want to review this when developing local procedures and SOPs. And I believe that's the end of this training, and I'll give it back to Jess.
Thanks, Lyra. I did drop those direct links into the chat for anyone who's interested in looking into those areas further. That concludes our training for today. And I want you to keep an eye out for an email from Dino and Cassidy testing that send system and be prepared to respond. Right now, we want to take some time. We have about 15 minutes to answer any remaining questions or comments that people have that are on the line. Reminder, use that Q&A chat box to post or *6 to unmute yourself if you're joining over the phone. We want to also point out that we have our next networking and training event on Wednesday, January 22nd from 2 to 3 p.m. This session is where we're going to discuss the Wisconsin USDA Foods Google Preference Survey results for school year 25-26 direct delivery products. And then as a reminder, DPI S&T is not an accredited provider, and therefore DPI S&Ts cannot be used for CEU credits for RDN credentials, so registered dietitian credentials. However, all DPI S&T trainings can be used towards professional standards hours and Wisconsin goals requirements. I'm now going to post a link to the professional standards certificate in the chat box if you're joining over the web, but if you're on the phone, please email me directly or our main USDA Foods email inbox at dpisnusdafoods@dpi.wi.gov. We will wait here to answer any questions that are coming in.
So Ellen Bartow asks, why don't we receive credit for damaged products? That is I don't have a great answer for that, honestly. I'm sorry. It does tend to be, we hope that an issue gets caught before it gets into your kitchen, but sometimes it isn't. We do ask the warehouse to look for any damaged products. And they do report damaged products. Yeah, it's, does anyone else have any opinions or not opinions, but,
I'm I mean, I guess I would just say too, Laura, I mean, it depends on when the complaint would come through because there may not be another ordering opportunity, even if you got credit. Are you talking about financial credit of the handling fees or the value? Because if you're talking about the entitlement value, then there may not be another opportunity for that entitlement to be utilized for a direct delivery product or for a state processing product.
Yeah, and this is Randy. I know one of the reasons is got to do with that. Those aren't our contracts; those are USDA contracts, and they're the ones managing that end of it and handling all the payments and everything else. We used to get the entitlement, but they're actually doing the financial payments to those contractors. So that's my understanding is why. As a state, we don't have access to those contracts. We report that to USDA and they manage it, and they may or may not get reimbursed for entitlement, but normally that doesn't flow back down to the states or any of the recipient agencies.
Yeah, and I think another thing about that crediting too is that's why we remind SFAs during the annual order time frame to request up to 105% of your entitlement value so that we know even if you have these limited situations where you have a complaint like this, that you will still get your full entitlement value. I'm going to drop the resources and the certificate in the chat. We have a new Teams platform here that we're working with, and I'm not sure if everyone can see where the resources landed and the certificate. So I'm going to pull them over into a different chat. If someone is able to thumbs up that, I just dropped both of those links in there. If you're able to thumbs up that you can see it.
There we go. I
Thank
saw a
you.
thumbs up. Yeah.
And I know this is a newer training for us where we did this really comprehensive training on this type of information, which we appreciate your feedback from our last session about what you wanted your topic to be when we took a poll. And this is some information that you can just take back and email us if you have more questions once you've worked it all through in your mind. Okay, and team, I suppose now I'm not seeing any other questions come in unless anybody else is. Do you think it's okay to end a few minutes early?
I would think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see any other questions either, Jess.
Give
Okay.
some time back to everybody. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to end a little bit early today. Thank you so much for taking your time to be with us and learn about the complaints, holds, and recall process. Hopefully we'll see you on January 22nd. Otherwise, email us with your questions. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good afternoon.
Have a good one. Thank you.